thank you for being here again tonight. We are here to judge and critique the challengers' images from week 8, A Shot in the Dark. Shooting at night is all about being prepared and experimenting with your cameras of various settings. Let's thank our panel judges for being here with us again this evening. Amy and Jenna Hobbs of Hobbs Photography, Darlene Hildebrandt of Digital Photo Mentor, Leroy from Leroy Schultz Photography, and Tammy Darren of the Photographer Studio. Thank you, judges, for supporting the shooting range and being here every week. Excuse me 1 second, something just went funny on my page. This week, our guest judge is Stephen Lee of Stephen Lee Photography. Thank you so much for being here tonight, Stephen. Stephen is a commercial photographer based out of Edmonton, who has not only built a thriving photography business helping other businesses with headshots, lifestyle, personal branding, content, as well as videography. He is also a fantastic educational provider of Edmonton's photographic community. And he often puts on workshops to teach new photographers as well as seasoned pros a thing or two. Thank you so much for being here. Okay. So tonight, shooters, we want to let you know that in week 5, we not only eliminated one of our challengers, but one of our challengers also left the competition. This gave us an opportunity at some point in the competition to save a challenger for 1 week. Well, that week happens to be this week. So we want you all to rest easy this week because you are all safe for one more. So we will see you next week and we'll see all of your images, okay? Let's get started. So night photography is the perfect way to express the world in a different light. Photographs taken after dark of landscapes, cityscapes, or of the night sky have greater depth, emotional quality, and sense of emptiness or abandonment. Daytime photographs of the same location might not have. Shooting in the dark immediately solves a huge problem that constantly confronts photographers. That problem is being faced with ordinary scenes that aren't very interesting. If you take a picture of a building or a standard street scene during the day, it can be sort of dull. We are used to seeing shots taken in the middle of the day, and that same scene shot at night can make the ordinary become surreal. Challengers, we are at week 8 of our 12-week competition. Tell us, how has it been so far? Have we traumatized you yet? Rain, why don't you tell us how this is going so far for you? Yeah, I'm picking on everybody tonight.
Oh, sure. Like overall?
Yeah, overall, how do you find the competition, and have you learned anything?
Yeah, I learned a lot, like a lot. I honestly, this was so nice for me. Just like I was pretty cooped up. And so I know I've mentioned on our private page before, like having an opportunity to get out of the house in a creative way every week, or just do something a little bit different and feel productive and kind of like a human again, not just like a mom, has been really, really fun. And I've always loved taking pictures, but have never pursued the education of it. So I've been absorbing as much as I can of everybody's feedback every week, not just for myself, but for other challengers as well. And yeah, from the beginning to now, like I'm officially this week moving forward shooting with my actual DSLR camera, which is a big deal. So I learned how to shoot that this week, and it's been a huge learning experience for me, but I really love that. So I am just really grateful for everybody, honestly. All of you admin and all of you judges and even the other challengers have helped me so much. I would definitely not have advanced nearly as much as I have without all of you. So I'm really grateful. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you. Stephen, in case you didn't know, Rain has been shooting with a phone up until this point, and she's done quite well with it. Shalene, what about you? How have we traumatized you?
No, not at all. Yeah, after you've done some of the things in my life, it's pretty hard to traumatize me. So, no, I've learned a lot, and I think for me that the opportunity forces you to get out and use your camera. It's very easy in the winter to just set it aside and not bother or think, oh, maybe I've been in situations where it's been like, I'll do one of those 30-day challenges just for fun. And you do the first 3 days, that's pretty cool. And then all of a sudden something comes along and you set your camera down and you just don't go back and get it. Well, this doesn't let that happen, right? So you tend to do a whole lot more than you would think to do. And it's just so much better practice for sure.
Thank you. Angela, how about you?
Well, to be honest, it has been a challenge. More recently in the last few weeks, I've definitely been enjoying it, and it definitely has pushed me outside the box a bit. But the last couple of weeks, it was challenging just because I have a part-time job, plus I've been running my business, which is practically full-time, and so it's been tough. And I felt like I've had a couple creative block weeks for the last 2 weeks, but no, I'm enjoying it. I am looking forward to the end, but I've really been enjoying it.
Time has been I think we feel like we have enough, and then when we realize that we don't have enough, it's like a scramble every week.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's exactly right.
Awesome. Corey Lynn, tell us what's been going on with you in this competition, and if you're liking it so far.
I'm loving it. It's been exactly what I wanted it to do. It forces me to shoot something every week. It's forced me to be more, what's the word I'm looking for? Just paying more attention to detail stuff. Shooting stuff that I'm not used to shooting. You get kind of comfortable in your little niche that you do and feel pretty confident in some of the things that you do. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, wow, had no idea what I was doing there. So it's been humbling, and that's okay. That's a good thing. I have a lot of stuff going on personally right now. And so I found it very challenging, the creative side of it. There has been some weeks where I'm like, I have nothing. I have no idea what I'm going to do. So thankfully, little things like, a puddle on a dirt road shows up right at the last minute, and then I'm good.
We're glad that everybody is enjoying it, and that they're feeling challenged, and that they're getting out and shooting. That was exactly what our goal was with this, and to keep you occupied during the pandemic. So it's good to hear that everybody is enjoying themselves. Tonight, judges, I will ask a couple of questions for each challenger's image. And then I will open it up for the rest of you to comment, critique, or give words of encouragement. If you have any, just raise your hands so that I don't miss you, or Hope, if you can also keep an eye, because they tend to go into a bar on the side. Okay, let's get started. Let's start with slide number 1. This is a collage of all the images this week, which is only 4, because we are getting down to the wire. All right. Okay, so let's move on to the next image, which is slide number 2, and this is Angela's Moonlit brick. Angela, tell me your motivation for choosing this scene as your concept this week, and did you have other concepts in mind, and why did you ultimately choose this one?
Well, last week was a very challenging week for me because I worked like full-time at my part-time job. Plus I was extremely busy. But anyways, besides that, I did struggle. I spent the whole week actually playing with, like flashlights and things like that in my house. Because the first few days the weather was great, but I didn't have time. And then as the week went on, the weather wasn't fantastic to get outside. So ultimately, I did have several things. I actually shared it in the challengers group today that I played around with. But ultimately, the reason I chose this one, and the other ones were way more creative and much more difficult, but I guess I played it safe and I went with this was the sharpest image I have. I know that's something that the judges have commented on for the past several weeks, is that sharpness is important. So that's the reason why I went with this one. This is a building in town, one of the newer commercial buildings in Westlock. And I always loved the way all the lights along the building have looked. Every time I drive by, I see this always on my way in and out of town. And I always thought, oh, one day I'm going to shoot this building. Ideally, you know, on a rainy day when the ground is wet and there's beautiful reflections. But so
You can
after,
always go back.
pardon?
I said you can always go back.
Exactly. And so literally on Saturday night, after everything, shooting all weekend, I wasn't really happy with what I had. I thought, well, I'm at least going to get this. And then on Sunday, I still did play around in my house just with the flashlights again, but ultimately submitted this.
Thank you, Angela. Leroy, night photography can be extremely challenging. Do you feel that this image do you feel this was well executed? And do you think she could have done anything to improve or enhance the image?
Well, the first thing that struck me about this one is that there's not enough context for me to be intrigued, you know, and I kept coming back to the question of why is this image being presented to me? Is there a narrative here? Is there a story? Is there something unique? And I didn't come up with an answer to that. And then as I look closer on this, you know, when you're shooting things like buildings, a lot of times, you know, in the real photography world, you know, all lines, if they're not 100%, they're kind of zero. And I see some distortion there, like some barrel correction needed to be done on this. There seemed to be, like, the highlights are blown out. I think you could have dropped down the highlights a little bit. And there's some technical things that could be addressed, but overall, the question I kept coming back to is, why am I looking at this? And I didn't have an answer to that. So for me, it wasn't a very effective image for this week.
All right, thank you, Leroy. Hobbs. Night photography images have a unique opportunity to be both impactful and ambiguous. Is this something you feel Angela achieved this week?
I'll go ahead. Amy's internet isn't great tonight. I feel the same. We felt the same way as Leroy in that we were searching for the why. You know, like, we looked for subtle hints in the windows, but we just wanted more. We zoomed in and we saw, okay, it's an insurance place. Are we insinuating boring, right? We just wanted a story, the empty parking lot. We were just looking for more. We did notice that it was sharp. A few of the highlights are blown out, and thought maybe that's the technique they were using, a tripod, trying to get everything sharp and in focus, which can be difficult at night. But yeah, for us, this one was definitely lacking. Amy, do you want to add anything?
Sure. So I'm stealing data from my daughter's iPhone, so I've got fine internet now. I'm with Jenna. Like, I appreciate that this image doesn't have a ton of noise, and that yes, some highlights are blown out. I honestly, if there was, I mean, I keep saying storytelling. If there was a great storytelling element, I could have cared less if the highlights were blown out. Like, if there was something in the window to the right of the door, if there was something really naughty going on that desk, or something spooky going on that desk, I would have loved this. So to me, this is where we're talking about details that can be added in to take things to the next level. If you could have, I've had great success in photographing in buildings. It's amazing what you can get access to if you just ask. So if you had gone there and said, hey, I'm doing this thing. Can I get people in here after hours to, like sit and look kind of naughty on the desk in that right-hand window? There's a significant chance that they would have said yes. Then you have the juxtaposition of something cool, contradictory going on with, the kind of stereotypical boring insurance building. That would have been amazing. So I would have loved to have seen something like that, just to add depth and story to what you already have achieved thus far.
Thank you, Hobbs.
I was thinking even a cat in the window would have been okay. Amy took it way farther than I did with the naughty business going on.
I don't know if a business would allow you to do naughty things in their in their windows, though.
You don't have to like.
You don't give them details. Yeah.
You only give them part of the details, and then when they're standing there with you, and you're doing it, then it's too late, right? That's what you're saying.
Well, I didn't ask them to do that. What are they doing? Click.
All right. Tammy, what stands out for you with this image?
It's bright and it's pretty sharp. It's interesting. You see the details of the rocks, and I like the way the lights kind of have that star effect. They kind of look like little angels. If you actually look at the pattern on the walls, they look like they have little wings and skirts. And I don't know,
they do.
It's kind of cool. And like other people were saying, it would be cool to have a story here. Like I was thinking even a couple in silhouette under one of those lights, just in the white part under one of the lights, making out or something. So you just see their form and it's kind of like, ooh, what's happening? Something other than just a building. Because like everyone was saying, we are looking for a story, and the story here is a building. So unfortunately for that, I wasn't like super excited, but I really, really, really was hoping for something a little more exciting for sure.
Thanks, Tammy.
I feel like y'all are a little bit perverts today.
I was just thinking, you guys have had a lot more wine than I have, apparently. I need to do some catching up.
Darlene or Stephen, if you'd like to weigh in on this image before we move on, you can speak up. Darlene?
So I'm not going to repeat what everybody already said, but the things that I noticed and I think I commented on. So the title is Moonlit Brick, and I always import the images into Lightroom, and there isn't anything blown out here actually, guys, which to me, in a night scene like that, I actually want to see the light sources. They should be brighter. And it's like the sky is at super extra black again. So it's harder to keep the details and everything when you're shooting when it's pitch black because the contrast is higher. So blue hour or just earlier would it be less contrast between the sky and just when the lights have come on. But the starbursts on the lights are great that Tammy mentioned, using a small aperture. I would have cropped down and just got rid of the moon and made it a pano because that moon is completely taking my attention away. And I don't mind so much that it's a building, but it's just, it is kind of boring, right? Like I didn't know what AFCS was, so I had to Google that. And then I found out, same thing. But I was thinking more in terms of adding an element of light painting or adding a ghost. You could have actually ghosted yourself in front of the doors by standing there for half the exposure and then running away, or standing there and flashing your face, or like something to add an element of, okay, this is life insurance. Maybe this is the ghost of the policyholder, like something.
Thank you, Darlene. Stephen, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, so for me, when I look at an image, one of the things I like to think about is how difficult was it to take that photo? Like if I were to reproduce that photo, how complicated would it have been? How many things would I need to consider and stuff like that, right? Like kind of like the more the technical side of things and behind the scenes. And so one of the things I did notice is the placement of the moon there, right? And so you have to be there at a certain time. You can't just like show up anytime in the middle of the night, right? A specific time, just for that moon to be that spot, in that position in front of that, behind that building. So I respected that, like the fact that that was taken consideration. But yeah, a lot of the comments I would have made was kind of what the judges have said. One of the things I did really love about this in terms of what I noticed were the little starbursts on the from the light sources. But yeah, it's just when I did see this image, I was like, there was a lack of emotion. Like I didn't feel anything. I was like, hey, what's going on? Yeah, like I said, it could have been improved with maybe adding a subject, either a person doing something, walking by, inside, outside. Yeah.
Thank you, Stephen. We can move on to the next one. Next slide, please. This is Corey Lynn with The Dark Side. Corey Lynn, what do you want your audience to take away from your image this week? And did you enjoy the process to capture it?
I want them to enjoy the awesomeness that is all things Star Wars that happens in my house. For over 10 years, I have woken up almost daily, maybe not the last couple, but to the sounds of lightsabers coming on in my hallway. This kid has been obsessed with Star Wars since he was 3. He worked his butt off last year and did great in school and got this amazing movie replica lightsaber. And so I've had it in my head, and we've tried a couple of things that just didn't work. And I thought, man, this night photography challenge is our opportunity to really try to make something work. So I loved that he was excited. I loved that when we had done a couple of different sessions, but this one we looked out and the moon had just risen and was amazing. And so I made my family pull over, and he had to don his cloak and gloves and did his epic lightsaber moves on the side of the road. And so for us, there's technically some things that I would have loved to have executed better, but the feeling behind it was what was most important for us this week. So that's where we're at.
Thank you, Corlin. Stephen, with night photography, it is important that the voice of the image is strong and clear. Are you able to establish the purpose of this image, and what could have possibly made this a stronger one?
Yeah. So one of the things when I looked at this image, the first thing that kind of went through my head was, what is the story behind this image? Like, what's going on? What am I looking at? Or what is trying to be presented to me? And I couldn't quite figure it out. I mean, I can see someone there with a lightsaber or some kind of light source in their hand, and then they used it to create the abstract kind of light painting on the right side. But I just couldn't figure out like exactly what was the story or what's kind of going on in this image. And that's, yeah, just one thing that kind of puzzled me when I looked at it.
Thank you, Stephen. Yeah. Hobbs, tell us what stood out about this image, and how would you have mentored Corey Lynn through it?
I am 1,000% not qualified to mentor anybody about how to do light painting. However, I can definitely mentor you in dealing with this age of boys, and it seems like I already love yours more than my own currently. Because mine is in a super hateful phase right now. Not this one, this is my grandson.
He's pretty epic.
Just as a parent, I appreciate any time I can get my children on board to do cool shit like this with me. So that alone, like when I listened to you talk about it, it kicked me in the guts a little bit, because as your kids get older, these opportunities get less until, they hit that tipping point where they think you're not an idiot anymore.
Right.
But is there technically stuff? I do find the right-hand side to get a little dense and busy. I wish it more, I wish he does have a fierce expression. I wish he had like maybe a little bit more to exaggerate it. And I wish the light painting side kind of tapered off. It feels a bit abrupt at the right-hand side of the frame. And I think all of that could have lent it to be more visually strong. But good work.
Thanks.
Jenna, did you want to add to?
No, I think Amy covered it.
Okay. Leroy, tell us what made an impact and what would you have suggested to do differently?
Okay, so two things. One, I think this image has a lot going for it on its own. But secondly, especially now that we've heard the background story from Corey Lynn, I mean, it makes me like it more. So a few things. I do see a narrative here. I do see a story. I think all of us can relate to a kid playing, and sometimes during that playing, there's like this contrary seriousness to the playing, and I think that there's that playfulness of the lightsaber and all the motions that we can see captured, and then we've got like this serious offset of this is serious play, which I love that. I think we can all think back to times when we were kids, and we can relate to that. Yeah, there are some technical things I would want to see. Like I think the image has a lot of black. I don't know what the exposure settings could have looked like for all the streaking on the right-hand side of the image to look a little more in focus. I mean, obviously there's motion, but it's sort of I think maybe it could have been addressed so that it's a little more defined, and I was curious to see what this would have looked like, is just really crop it in so that, it's like when you're shooting with a longer lens and, the bokeh effect is really emphasized, and then all of a sudden it draws you to that in focus effect. But I think overall this was, it's colorful, it's playful, it takes you back to childhood. There's the element of the moon, it's colorful. There's a lot of stuff going for it that I really appreciate.
Thank you, Leroy. Darlene or Tammy, do you have anything you'd like to add?
I do.
Okay, Tammy, tell me what you got.
So other than anything technical, guys, listen, if you really look at this image, there's like a lot of art going on here. If you look in the center, it looks like a sun is beaming in the middle there. And if you look directly under it, it actually looks like a bunch of little tiny clouds. That's really cool. And if you look to the far right, it's actually a freaking football player. Look at his helmet, his giant padded shoulders, and there's like a little football. Do you see that?
I do see that.
Me? That was like creating other elements within an element. That alone is kind of cool to me. So I just wanted to add that because I see that, when something's wrong with you and they show you like those weird ink blot things and what's in here? I saw those two elements right away and I thought that's actually kind of cool because that's probably not what you're going for, but those two elements are there.
Awesome.
Thank you, Tammy. Darlene?
Well, I just want to know what Tammy's drinking because I want some of that. I wanted to ask you, Corlin, so how did you do the light on his face? Because I know the degree of difficulty and I do this kind of thing. And his face is relatively sharp, but it's really hard to do. So did you add flash to freeze him?
I did. I just used the test button on a flash.
Yep. And then combine it as two images, or?
So yes, actually, the image that you see, I used a flashlight. So that's why you can actually see some spillage of light on the side of his cloak. I had done another one where I had used and I didn't find that his face was nearly sharp enough. And so then the night before I had done the ones with the flash, and I wasn't as happy with the way that the rest of the photo turned out. So I did a face swap because I liked this face better. It was much sharper and I liked his expression much better. So
I think it's well done. I love this image, the color, the styling of it. Could the swirl be better? Sure. I mean, you could do that 1,000 times and get different swirls, but
absolutely, it is different every time because he has a million.
But I love the fact that you did like monster lighting, which makes it look more like he's, Darth Vader or some kind of evil lured.
He's a Darth Maul fan, so yeah.
No, I love
Had
it.
to be
I love it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's move on to the next slide, please. This image is Rain's, and it's called Let Loose. Rain, there are many challenges that come with night photography. What was your biggest challenge this week, and how were you able to overcome it?
Yeah, oh my goodness. This was probably the most fun for me and the most challenging week for me because I didn't even know how to light paint. Like as soon as I got the brief, I went outside and was like just trying to figure that out alone. I didn't care about focus, and nothing was happening. And so I had to read so many articles and so much stuff. And then I was also learning my DSLR this week. I've never been able to make it look anything more than like a crappy digital camera photo before. And so like playing around with aperture and shutter speed and all these things you guys know was like, it was magic. It was magical for me. And so getting this photo was not intentional. I played around. I had another photo. I know I shared on the private group, which was, I don't know if it could have been more opposite than this. And it was like on an abandoned place with graffiti and a total different kind of light painting. But this one, it was just so wonderful of an experience. And I remember seeing these images show up on my display, and I was just like, this is so fun and so cool. And I was so proud, honestly. And so when it boiled down, like, I really wanted this to be the image I shared because this is the most challenging and the most technical picture I've possibly ever taken. And I loved the way that it turned out. And so there was a lot of technical things, a lot of difficult things for me, but it really fulfilling. So I had a lot of fun with this. So I hope you guys liked it too.
Thank you, Rain. Stephen, do you believe that this was a well-scouted location for this style of photography?
Yeah, I think like with this location, because you got the bridge that is also lit up and changes colors, you can definitely kind of adds to that theme of, light painting where you got the existing light, and then on top of you add the actual light from your light painting tool to incorporate all the different colors and patterns and things. So yeah, I would say so.
Thank you, Stephen. Tammy, do you have any tips to share on location scouting for night photography? And was this image visually inspiring for you?
So just know I'm not a night photographer at all, so I am not super qualified to say anything about this. But as far as location goes, I think I really love the fact that the bridge has some red lighting on it. It's bringing out colors. So you get the red colors, you get the blue, you've got the night sky, you've got the cool grid of the wires there on the bridge on the side. So I think that there's a lot of lines and a lot of interest here. So as far as that goes, I think she scouted a really good spot. I also noticed a streak of headlights going down on the road, so that also adds more lines. So lines are cool.
Thank you, Tammy. Darlene, in what way do you feel Rain took into consideration the surrounding elements? And do you think that she utilized them well?
Yeah, absolutely. I want to be honest, like, but there's all you guys all mentioned the leading lines and stuff, and the fact that all the circles and things are sort of going into the distance and going off into the Netherlands, and you wonder who made these little light trails. Was it a fairy? Was it something? And honestly, Rain, I am completely blown away that this was your image this week, because I was trying to guess who everybody's was, and I was completely wrong on all of them this week. So based on your previous styles and stuff, and I did not think this was your image. I thought the Star Wars one was, because you're like fun and whatnot. And not that you're not, Corlin, but I am totally blown away that this is like one of your first DSLR photos, because this is way above the bar and like way outside of new photographers' comfort zones. So I'm speechless.
All right, Hobbs, did you want to weigh in?
Sure, of course. I loved like listening to Rain talk about the excitement of creating. Okay, Tucker, shh, shh. Like it just takes me back and it makes Tucker, shh, just looking. It takes me back to that excitement of just that, the excitement of creating. To me, I remember the excitement of getting a new camera and just trying everything, and it was so fun. And for me, for this image specifically, the right half of this image is cool. I like the tunnel type of feel about it. The heaviness in the bottom left corner, I find like that red beam to be quite distracting. It's just so heavy when you have this really cool vibe going on, and it's so abstract art on the right side. I mean, I'm a little bit jaded in that my husband owns a bridge construction company, so I know all the like technical parts of the bridge. But like the cables and the whole right hand swirly feel of it, I really love. Good job, Rain.
So do you think that maybe 2 or 3 steps forward would have taken that heaviness off the left hand side?
Yeah, possibly, or angle, or moving either forward past it could have helped, or just angling your body slightly more towards the cables. You know, there's any number of things you could do in that situation. However, I also get when you have all this other shit going on that it's a lot to, every little tweak is a huge effort.
I think perhaps if you were standing like a couple of feet to the right and seeing more of the red leading in, maybe as well.
Yeah, I can see what you're talking about, Darlene.
Jenna?
Yeah, Jenna?
No, I'm good. I thought it was great. And we, same as Darlene, tried to guess whose is whose. And we did pick This Is Rain this week. But yeah, I really liked it. Great job, Rain.
Leroy, do you have anything to say?
I'm going to play devil's advocate here and go against the grain a little bit. So first of all, I love the background story, and yeah, I can relate to the whole idea of when you have new gear or when you try a new technique in photography, and you know, sometimes you wow yourself and like, this is so cool, you know, what can I do with this? And I think there's lots of cool elements on this, right? Like all the swirl effects, and you know, the fact that there's the linearity in some, you know, with the stripes, and then there's dots with others. You know, a lot of this is cool. You know, the streaks of the traffic lights, the redness of the bridge. But sometimes if you take a lot of great elements and you put them together, you know, the question to ask is, do they work in conjunction? Do they work together? And you know, I'm not sure that for me, other than, okay, this is cool, it actually has some impact for me overall. You know, and I think that would have been addressed, you know, with maybe more of the dark areas being exposed brighter. You know, it for me, it just doesn't come together and click in a way where I think this really, really works. There's lots of things that do work, but overall, I'm not sure that it does for me.
Thank you, Leroy. We can move on to slide number 5, Hope. This image is by Shalene and it's called Lest We Forget. Shalene, did you face any challenges this week with this? Did you face any challenges with this week's theme? And tell us why you chose this location.
Yeah, I had a few challenges. I'd have to say, if there's one thing that I have never really been good at, it's anything regarding night photography. About the only thing I've ever been remotely successful with is maybe getting the occasional fireworks and having that work out for me. I have to say that all the rest has just really been yucky. And I tried a bunch of things too before I ended up at this location. This one was always in the back of my head, but I thought, I want to try something else first. So I tried a bunch of glow in the dark body paints, which that really doesn't mean that. Glow in the dark body paints, absolutely not the case, or at least the stuff that I researched and ended up buying was absolutely useless. So
Oh,
I
no.
had my daughter, I had my daughter paint herself up just amazing. Like this was gorgeous, gorgeous artwork on her hands and stuff like that. And there was no amount of light source of any kind would make that stuff glow. So that was off the table. But again, a worthy experiment, right? To see what did and didn't work. And so anyways, then I tried various other locations around town. The full moon was a bit of a challenge because it was so vibrant everywhere. It's like you want to get certain elements, but yet sometimes it's too bright. And then you're always obsessed with maybe I should put the moon in there or not, and then it's not clear. But anyways, so I went back to my original thought, which I probably should have stuck with in the first place, was to go down and get this because it is always so well lit. And actually, I was kind of still hoping that they had, like as you could tell, it's still strung with Christmas lights. And so when they light it up at Christmas time, the whole outline is done. And I guess they must have taken that down just recently, like stopped the light up of it down recently. And so anyways, I thought it looked just fine, just the way it was. And it's just such a fixture in our town. I thought it would be really great to do that as a photo.
Thank you, Shalene. Darlene, we've discussed the importance of images being in focus and sharp. Do you feel Shalene hit the mark with the focus on this image? And how could you have coached her to bring her image to the next level?
Yeah, unfortunately, this one is not real sharp, and the comparison between this one and the other building, which has the starbursts and everything, I mean, that's just done with a small aperture. You don't need a special filter or anything. So if you use like f11, you'll get the starburst. It's not super sharp, and I can't tell if it's tilting a little bit, but the composition also is just dead smack center, and it doesn't really do anything. There's no lines to lead me to the bridge, to the tower, or away from it, like maybe a different camera angle or something. But yeah, it's not 100% sharp, and it's quite noisy as well. So do you remember what your settings were, Shalene?
I tried several. I tried all kinds of things. I think I ended up with ISO 1000. Oh gosh, you know what? I don't remember. I tried so many. I can't remember which one I picked on it.
Okay, yeah, that's
to
why
get it to go.
That's why it's noisy. So if you go like ISO 200 or 100 and just let your shutter speed go longer, you'll capture some car trails going through, which might add interest as well.
I did try the car trails, but I felt that it blurred out the picture. And so I kind of went with the ones where the cars were actually in focus. So there was less of that. I did a few similar photos with like a seed cleaning plant that was similarly lit and got some trains going by. And it talk about looking muddy. So I didn't use that when I came to this one, but I can't tell you specifically what I did use.
I'd love to see those in the public group later, like for everybody's second shots. Like I'd love to see your other shots, Rain, and the ones you did, Angela, as well.
Yeah, we have an album set up for behind the scenes shots. So tomorrow, challengers, if you want, you can add your behind the scenes shots in there so that the judges can have a look at them. Okay. Leroy, with images taken in the dark, lighting becomes incredibly important for how you create them. You need enough to light up the frame, but enough darkness to convey the late time of day. Do you think Shalene made good use of the light while respecting the dark? And in a situation like this, how would you have coached Shalene to get a great image for her?
I think the first thing that I would do, if this was an image that I had shot and I imported into Lightroom, first thing I would have done is probably drop the exposure down to darken things overall, especially the sky, and then bring up the highlights and see how that looks, or play with the curves so that it looks moodier. I think when I look at this, it looks a little overlit to my taste, and I wonder if it could be more effective by really playing with some of the exposure settings, even this exact exposure, but just in post-production, trying some different things with it. I think also with, I'll mirror what Darlene said, you know, some of the compositional decisions there. You know, I was trying to wonder, or trying to figure out where this was originally when I first looked at it. And I've been in Wainwright for photo shoots. I go there every now and then for shoots, and I don't remember this tower, so I'm going to definitely be paying attention to that next time I'm there. So I don't know, you know, that you can see this vegetation, these trees or something on the left there, how it would look if, you know, if it would be possible, if this, you know, something about the composition here, I would be looking at doing something differently there as well, as Darlene mentioned.
Thank you, Leroy.
Can I just say something, Billy, for a second? The
Absolutely.
challenge with this photo is that you're right. There is street leading up to the clock from the side that I'm standing on. It is uphill. So when you stand uphill to the clock, it then goes downhill for the rest of the road. So it looked extremely distorted when I kept this side of it on. I did shoot it from, there's also a matching street that goes east to west. So you can shoot the clock from 4 different directions. And I did shoot it that way, but unfortunately the moon was on the one side. And that shot's not too bad either, but I like this one better just because of the depth going off into the north part of the road. But yes, you're right. There's absolutely more road in front of this, but the up leading to the upwards direction towards the clock versus the downward direction of the other side, just it's a really awkward look, but I'm sure there must be a way around it. I just couldn't figure out how to do it.
Julie, if you adjust your white balance, like I'm playing with it in Lightroom, and if you adjust to get rid of a lot of the yellow, or you shoot using tungsten white balance when you're shooting, you'll get more blue in the sky too.
Do you want to know a secret, Darlene?
Hmm.
I tried it in Luminar this week.
Yay!
So that is a Luminar treatment on that. So honestly, when that picture is taken, it was the background was completely black. Like the sky was so blue in that direction. I thought that is way too dark. I'm going to need to do something to it. So I did actually take down the exposure and the white balance on it and then put the Luminar treatment over it, because I thought, oh my God, when everyone gets a load of how dark that upper portion is, they're going to be like, that's gross. So this is the other experiment I did was my first round at Luminar, which didn't love me. I confess it didn't love me, but I did try to feel like that's not something I have ever used before. And I did try it I tried it in Lightroom, and it just, that just wasn't the best.
Did you actually shoot it?
Yes, that's the actual time on the clock. I did. Yes, that's the actual time on the clock.
If I was going to shoot this, I would be shooting it at 6:30, right after sunset.
Yeah. I just wasn't sure that was dark enough. Like I wasn't sure that was enough. And in the summer, that is a spectacular shot. Like because the sun sets directly in the west, right behind it on the other street. You're absolutely right. It would look amazing. So again. Yeah, my first round at Luminar, which may or may not have been great, but I tried. So
thank you. Stephen, when photographing a scene with many distracting elements, what can one do to ensure a captivating photo for the viewer?
I guess in this situation, it's kind of hard because you got the street and whatever's there is there. You can't really move it or tell it to, to do anything. I mean, the only thing you could do is play around with the cropping, or like go tighter on this, maybe have less of the ground is a possible chance. Obviously, you can manipulate composition in post, like making certain parts darker using like an adjustment brush tool or something, if that's an option, if you can't manipulate the environment. But yeah, for something like this, it's kind of hard because you kind of like, you got the street and it is what it is, and you just have to work with it. The only thing you can do is, adjust your angle, adjust your composition, or how much you crop or go wide. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, judges, since you all know that the shooters are working, what the shooters are working on this week, what is your advice for them going into week 9 photography?
I think Steven should go. He shoots a lot of food.
That is right.
Okay, so when it comes to food photography, one thing maybe you can look into is lifestyle food photography. So just Google that and see examples of that. But basically what that is you're not just simply taking photos of just the food by itself, but you're incorporating elements, like kind of things that might go with it, to go around it to tell more of a story. So for example, I'll just use an example, like let's say a carrot cake, right? So if you're photographing a carrot cake, then you might include some carrots, some of the cream cheese, maybe in a bowl or something. So some of the ingredients that are used in the food, or items used to either eat the food or to prep the food, right? So forks, plates, napkins, you know, yeah, stuff like that, just to tell a little bit more of a story. Yeah, that's simply just taking photos of a food.
Perfect.
Can I just jump in?
I'll add to that because I used to do food photography a long time ago. Totally second what he said. Also, lighting on food is critical to bring out texture. Now, I understand that you've been given confectionery, so I'm guessing candies or cakes or something like that. I don't know what she makes, but anything that's like that, especially if it's like an all white candy or something, you need to bring out texture in it. So you need to have, like, see how I have a rim light? Like, you need a rim light, you need a skimming light, you need something to bring out texture, right? If you don't have studio lights, put it in the dark and do it with a flashlight. Like, seriously, like, it's the same thing. But you need to bring out texture, and you need to make that thing look appetizing, like it's something that we want to eat. And now I want carrot cake. Thanks, Stephen.
I actually have a question for Hobbs. You guys have been on about the storytelling again and again and again. These guys get 3 images for this particular challenge to create their story. Do you have any, like, can you give some examples or ideas of how you would put together 3 images to kind of tell a really great story about not just the prep of the food, which Stephen touched on, but also the enjoyment of the food and making the food look, or the confection look, really beautiful?
Go for it, Jenna. I went first twice.
Yeah, I would say with 3 photos, you have the opportunity to tell a story. It's tough in one. When you have 3, you know, you should be telling a story. I don't want to see 3 photos of this food taken from 3 different angles. In the video explaining the challenge, she talked about, you know, the enjoyment that goes into making it, how she wants you with your family to enjoy it. So to go beyond the technical of lighting it properly, bringing the texture out in it, which is of course important, but let us look at the photos and bring us there. Like, what is happening? Is there something going on? Make us feel something. Yeah, try to stay away from the 3 photos of just a different angle, because there's no story there.
I second that. If I see 3 photos of a cake, I'm going to be pissed off in a row. When you have 3 photos, you need a story. 3 photos of a cake. And I mean, if it was the branding marketing challenge and it was for the baker, then sure.
Yes.
Do it for the texture and the detail. This is a storytelling challenge. So I don't give a shit about what the icing looks like on the cake. I don't care. Like,
Well, don't sugarcoat it.
I won't. Like, it's not, yes, the subject is food, but over 3 photos, you're going to need a story. Or if it was in a magazine, unless it's like a wedding bridal thing where you're looking for details because you don't have ideas for what to do for your wedding, nobody's going to look at 3 photos of what cake icing looks like. Nobody cares unless that's your specialty niche in life. So it's like, this is a good opportunity this week to really mull over. It'll be a week where you probably spend a lot of time thinking versus shooting about what is my story? And you'll come up with 5, 10, 15 different prospective storylines and reject all of them. And then you might start shooting one and think this is not working. But then that's where it gets exciting about what spin-off and what am I trying to say? Like, prior to knowing that you were being supplied cakes, my first thought when Jen and I were chatting about it was, how cool would it be to do like a cake with a human that reflects an age or stage of life, you know, like what a cake would look like for a baby and the condition of that cake versus somebody who's 40 versus somebody who's 120 and has seen death and the loss of their spouse. And that obviously isn't, if you're being supplied confectionery, that's not necessarily what's going to happen. However, again, storytelling challenge, modify it. Don't feel like you can't. It's not a food photography challenge. It's a storytelling challenge. So mangle it a little bit if you need to. Mangle it a lot.
I'm going to jump in here and talk again, sorry. I did a conceptual self-portrait challenge, not challenge, this is a challenge, assignment, I guess. And the subject was pie. So rather than, I mean, I took the shot kind of exactly as Stephen described it. There was my pie. The way I went with it was motherhood. When a mother sees that there's 4 pieces of pie for 4 people, she promptly announces she never did care for pie. So I had my scene where it was the pie, there was 4 pieces, there was, you know, spilled, there was everything you need, right? But I also had the photos that represented that motherhood, including I had the shot of flour. I was covered in flour. It was lots of fun.
I cleaned that up.
The shot of the shirt literally off my back and my daughter wearing it. So although it's about food or about pie, you can bring in your own meaning in your artist statement and make it a story. You can make it whatever you want it to be.
You know, after everything the 2 Hobbses have said, if I see 3 photos of cake, I'm going to order some on Skip the Dishes. Okay, so for the record, Amy, 3 photos of cake is not a bad thing.
I literally just ordered Skip the Dishes for my first time in my life last night.
Oh, really? Wow.
I can't. Well, I've never had Skip the Dishes.
Welcome to the club. I think you know, all the points that everyone have said is spot on. I think ultimately, and this is probably a general comment to any sort of photography, and let's apply it to food photography. Answer the question of why, right? And I'm saying that because this week I've found myself wondering why we were looking at some of these photos. You know, what is it? What is the answer to that? Is it beautiful? Is it evocative? Is it clever? Is it too clever? Is it poignant? Is it, you know, whatever it is? And, you know, in this case, this next week, the challenge will be food. Before submitting an image, make sure that it answers the question of why. Why are we going to be looking at these 3 images? And I think, you know, there's so much thought process, this whole matrix of decisions that will be behind answering that question, and that's where the challenge lies. But make sure that, you know, I would suggest make sure that it's clear to you what the answer to the why question is, so that it's clear to us as judges.
Hey, you guys are killing me right now because now I just want to order cake. I ordered cupcakes for my sister's birthday tomorrow to be sent to her, and she was outside their delivery area in Deep Mill Woods, so she got a gift certificate instead. But now I'm like, I have 2 questions for Hope. When do the judges get their cakes? And does Amy get a prize for saying shit 3 times in one episode?
Shit too. So
if there was a swearing limit, I could not be on any public forum.
And in terms of cake, as soon as you order it from Sadia, plug.
Check her out, SH Confections. She makes beautiful things. I have tasted many of her treats. So
we did offer for the challengers when they were done to actually just return the unused goods to us, and they declined. So I did try.
Well, send us a link anyways. We'd be happy to support her.
We will do that.
And for the record, I think the judges will keep this in mind for next week while we're judging, right? The fact that there's no back scratching happening here.
Well, you might have to talk. You might have to talk to Sadia next week, and you never know, she might make something special for you. All right, everybody, let's get down to the business of who the winner of week number 8 is. We had a very close race this week between first and second place. And since no one is going home tonight, I'm going to announce fourth place to first place. So in fourth place tonight is Shalene with Lest We Forget. In third place is Angela with Moonlit Bricks. And in second place by just 13 points is Corey Lynn with The Dark Side. And that means, Rain, you are our sharpshooter again this week with your image Let Loose. Congratulations on your second win in a row. Tonight's prize was provided by our very generous guest judge, Stephen Lee. Stephen, can you tell Rain what she has won this week?
No, I can't. Actually, I don't remember.
Oh.
Did I mention it at the very beginning, I guess, maybe?
It might have been a few weeks ago. You had said a mentoring session?
Okay, yeah.
So do you want to tell?
1 hour. Yeah, I think it was a 1 hour lesson with me, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, so yeah, it's basically a 1 hour lesson on photography. Anything you want to learn, we can do it over Zoom, so it's COVID friendly. Just reach out to me and we can set it up whenever I'm available and whenever you're available.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I look forward to that.
Thank you so much for that. Stephen, thank you so much for your time this week. We were so thrilled that you chose to be a part of our competition this year. We hope you enjoyed your time with us and the process of judging and getting to view these images this week.
I did, and I want to congratulate all the organizers and all the judges and all the time that you're committing to this. Just seeing all this, I'm like, wow, good for you guys for doing all this for everybody. So congrats, you guys.
Thank you. We are doing our best.
Cake for everybody.
Oh, Leroy, I'm sorry, you're gonna be so disappointed next week. Oh, he's out. He's done. Okay, so if there is, does anybody have any questions, comments, or anything that they want to add before we sign out tonight? Panel judges, if we can get 10 minutes of your time so we can talk about next week, or sorry, 2 weeks from now, we would appreciate that. So anybody have anything they want to talk about?
Well, I see that Jenna keeps giggling to herself tonight. I'm wondering if there's like a cat tickling her feet or something there. What's going on, Jenna?
Amy and Jenna are texting back and forth. I know it.
You should ask Amy.
Jenna's looking for porn in she's looking for pornographic images in insurance company buildings.
I do not want to type that into Google. No, thank you.
It's got to be a full moon or something. Like everyone's been a little bit like, I don't know. Maybe I'm just too sober tonight.
That's it. Well, I was sober until my daughter poured me a glass of wine, but I'm only like a third of the way through one glass. So.
Feeling
potent stuff.
All right. Thank you everybody for being here this week. Shooters, you're all here next week. We want to see you've got some great advice for going into photography. So please take that to heart with your submissions this week. And as always, you can hit us up in the private group and let us know what's going on and if you need any help with anything, okay?
Can I add last one tip for the challenge, Billy?
Sure.
I was just thinking about as the 3 images, a friend of mine used to do newspaper photography, like journalism. And she said that whenever there's multiple photographers covering the same event, they'll just say, okay, you go long, I'll go wide. So think in terms of like, if I'm doing a storytelling thing of a event or subject or something, I think in terms of close, medium, and far away. So I want to get like some wide shots, meaning if it's a cake, I want to see the whole cake. I want to see a piece cut out, and maybe I want to see a close up of the icing or like that kind of thing. And also think about how can you add humor, because honestly, like some of the things and some of the best images we've seen or the ones that have affected us over this challenge have used humor.
All right. Thank you.
Nobody will ever forget Spamhenge.
All right, folks.
We'll have to go back in the group to see that one, Stephen.
Okay, everybody. That is it for tonight. We will see most of you next week. Thank you again, Stephen, for being here with us. We will be removing you from the judges' private group just because you don't get to know what happens in the rest of the competition. You'll have to stay tuned and see what happens next. So, all right, everybody, you have a good night. 4 panel judges, please stay behind. Bye. Have a good night.
Bye, everybody.
Hi, shooters. Congratulations on making it to week 9, photography. My name is Sadia Hashmi. I was a part of the Great Canadian Baking Show, season 2, which is now airing on Netflix. So a good place to watch it. I love baking. I love cooking. And I love the elements that come through to make a dish or a confection. I love the stories that you can tell through your flavors. I love the emotions that you can evoke in a person through these flavors, through the colors, through the elements that go into the dish. So I am looking for images that would convey these stories, that would convey these emotions. So go wild with that imagination in telling that story, in making sure that your images are evoking the emotion that you feel or that your family felt when they tried those flavors. The care card that will be given with the baked confection will have how to take care of the confection. It would have each confection has different elements to it that might require different temperatures to be at their best. I will be providing that. One of the most important things is the transporting of those baked confections, since they do have different elements on them, and making sure that they get to you guys, they get to your shooting place in the way they're made. So please make sure that you're handling them with care and love. And I hope your family enjoys the flavors. They enjoy digging in, is basically what I want. You guys are expected to have 3 images to the judges by Sunday, March 7th, 2021. There is no limit to what kind of story that you can tell with that image, with your images. And I am looking forward to seeing those images, to hearing your stories, and to have all sorts of feelings come up. Happy shooting, all of you.